to let you aware of the mission that you are going to do, the things that you are going to inshallah start. So I just read it very quickly, right? Because alhamdulillah, otherwise you didn't come, otherwise you wouldn't come actually, right? So this is what we are going to start inshallah. First of all, it's not like something because it's not for kicks and giggles, right? It's not for amusement, right? It's something is not for fun. It's something we have to be like focusing on. Now the first step of knowledge starts now, right? So he's going to start with purification and water, and all the book of fiqh, all the books of fiqh, start with that purification and the external or an internal purification. Why? Because they say the book of fiqh deals with the ibadat, the rituals, right? And ibadat, the most important ibadah in our religion is salah. Salah, this is the second pillar. And they said salah is not going to be deemed valid without tahara, without purification. So let's start with purification, right? So now he is serving the first pillar, right? All the scholars of fiqh, they started by purification. Why? To serve the first pillar, which is salah. Because we know there is no salah without purification. He said here, prayer is the second pillar of Islam, after the two testifications of faith, after Tawheed. He said prayer is what distinguishes Muslims from disbelievers. It's very important. Every single statement is very important. Prayer is what distinguishes Muslims from disbelievers. Who said that? This is actually a hadith. Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. He said, "Al-ahdu alladhi baynana wa baynahum as-salah." The difference between us and them is salah. فَمَنْ تَرَكَهَا فَقَدْ كَفَرَ. Whoever neglects, he committed a kind of kufr. He said, it is the cornerstone of Islam, and it is the first thing one is questioned about when called to account on the day of judgment. This is what will be questioned first, is salah. Therefore, if it's correctly performed and thus accepted by Allah, all one's good deeds will be accepted. But if rejected, so will be all one's deeds. So this is the significance and importance of salah, right? Hadith says that. There's also another hadith, right? The hadith says what? The first thing that a person will be questioned about in his grave is what? The salah. If it's okay, right? And if it's accepted, all the good actions will be inshallah accepted. And if it's not, so all his actions will not be accepted too. He said prayer is mentioned in many different contexts in the glorious Quran, stressing its various virtues. Sometimes Allah commands establishing it regularly, and sometimes He demonstrates its merits. At times, Allah shows the reward of establishing it, and at other times, He associates it with patience, enjoining seeking His help through both patience and prayer in adversity. Hence, prayer has been made of the comfort of the eyes of Allah's Messenger in this world. He said, وَجُعِلَتْ قُرَّةُ عَيْنِ فِي الصَّلَاةِ. The delight of my eyes has been made in salah, right? And as it's the ornament of prophets and the sign of righteous servants and the connection between servants and the Lord of the world. Prayer, in addition, prevents immorality and wrongdoing. Allah said that, إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ تَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنكَرِ. Indeed, prayers forbids and protects person from immorality and the evil. He said prayer is not deemed valid unless the one performing it is in a state of both minor and major ritual purity, as much as possible. The means of purification for prayer is either water in wudu or clean earth in tayammum, dry ablution. Now, in case water is unavailable, now he started by saying, now we have two means to clean, not to clean, to purify, right? It's better to use the word purify, right? To purify ourselves. So the first is what? Water. The second is the clean huh? Dust or the earth, right? The clean earth or the clean dust or anything which would be on the surface of earth, right? If the water is not available, we can use it. He said, due to the above fiqhs, or due to the above fuqaha, may Allah have mercy on them, used to start their books with handling the issue of purification. Since prayer is at the head of the pillars of Islam, following the two testifications of faith, it's appropriate to start with handling its prerequisites, among which is purification, the key to prayer. As mentioned in the following hadith, the key to prayer is purification. This is a hadith, right? قال صلى الله عليه وسلم مفتاح الصلاة الطهور. The key of prayer is what? Purification. This is because the state of minor ritual impurity is like a bad luck that hinders one from performing prayer. But once one performs ablution, which is wudu, the padlock is unlocked, as purification is a key to prayer. Thus, purity is one of the most central conditions of prayer. A condition is to be fulfilled before performing the action stipulating it. Now he's going to speak about the meaning of purification in the language. He said linguistically, purity or tahara, right? Tahara means cleanliness and purification from all matters and spiritual impurities. So now this is the first thing is what is the meaning of this word purity in the language? It means what? Tahara, right? It means to purify from all matters and spiritual impurities. So the tahara includes the physical and spiritual together. See, in Fiqh, jurisprudentially, purity means the removal of ritual impurity as well as the impure objects. So now in Fiqh, when we say the definition of tahara in Fiqh, is to remove two things, not only one thing, to remove two things. First, to remove the impurities, right? إزالة النجس, impurities, and ارتفاع الحدث, the removal of ritual impurity. I'm going to give you an example to make it easy for you. The first which is to remove the ritual impurity. Ritual, that means what? If a person now, he takes a bath, right? And he showers himself, and he cleaned himself, right? He did everything, right? And then he passed the wind. Is he pure or not? Huh? This is the point. Now we have to. So now he is not pure. He is not able to pray. Even he is clean, right? So, and if he is pure, means he made wudu, but he has impurity. He has impurity on his body. Can he pray? No. So two things: his clothes, his body should be cleaned, right? And he has to also be purified. So cleanliness and purification. Cleanliness will be related to the impurities, whether it's urine, anything like that, like any impure matters, right? Things. The first is to remove the ritual impurity, right? By making wudu. So, and then he said, in case of major ritual impurity, one uses water and washes one's whole body. Yet, one only washes the 4 parts of ablution in case of minor ritual impurity. So now he says two things now, wudu and ghusl. For wudu, you need to wash 4 organs in your body. In ghusl, you need to wash all your body, right? With intention. He said in case, and then he mentioned that, he said, one can use the substitute of water, namely clean earth, if water is unavailable, or one is unable to use it. So now we have 2 cases to use the dust, right? First is what? If there is no water. The second is what? If there is water but you cannot use it, right? You're sick, you cannot use water, right? And he said the earth or the dust is also enough and could be substitute for water in both of the minor and major ritual impurity, like for wudu and ghusl. Like someone now, he has to make ghusl, right? He has to make ghusl. Now he doesn't have water, or water is going to harm him. Can he use dust to remove this state of ritual impurity? Yes, he can do it, right? So, like it happened, one of the Sahaba, he went somewhere with the Amr ibn al-As anhu, and it was like very cold. It was very cold, and the water was so cold, almost freezing. And he woke up in the morning and he found himself like obliged to make ghusl, right? He didn't find water. No, he found water, but the water was what? So cold, he couldn't use it. Huh? So cold. So what did he do? He used tayammum. We call it tayammum, right? Tayammum. And tayammum is going to just mention that, right? Tayammum would be substitute for water, for wudu, and for ghusl too. Yeah, and for ghusl too, right? So this is very important. This is one of the things that Islam made it easy for Muslims. If water is unavailable, he said, we will, inshallah, elaborate on how to purify oneself from both minor and major ritual impurity. He said now, let's now point out the quality of the water used for purification and this of the water that is not, permissible. He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and we send down from the sky pure water. Now he's going to talk about what? Can you imagine? The water itself that you can use. We'll give you an example. We said the water should be pure, right? Okay, you have water and you put tea on it. You put tea on this water. It became what? Became tea, right? So can you use it to make wudu? Huh? Can you? It's pure or not pure? So it's pure, but can you use it? It's going to come. It's going to say now. Of course, you are not going to be able to use this water. He said first, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, first we're going to speak about the rains. Can you use rain to make wudu? First here. Well, Allah said in the Quran, and this is the beauty of it, right? Everything you have the verse from Quran, the Hadith. The verse Allah said, we send down from the sky pure water. Surah Al-Furqan. وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً طَهُورًا. And Allah says also, and send down upon you from the sky rain by which to purify you. وَيُنَزِّلُ عَلَيْكُم مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً لِيُطَهِّرَكُم بِهِ. Surah Al-Anfal. So they said the water of the rain water is of course pure. We can use it to make wudu. We can use it to make ghusl. It's pure. This is the Quran said that. So he said pure water is that which is originally pure and can be used as a means of purification. It's also that water which hasn't undergone any change, means it retains its original characteristics. This is a point that I mentioned now. So the water should be what? Should be retaining its original characteristics. No change in its color, no change in its taste, no change in its smell. So these three things, in order to use the water, to be free from any different color, any different smell, any different taste, right? So can you use juice? No. Even if it's pure, but you cannot use it because it's not water anymore. You don't say it water, you say juice, right? You cannot use orange juice or apple juice to make wudu, even if it's pure, but it's still supposed to be only water, right? He said, so now we have these rules. Three things we have to make sure it's not there: smell, color, taste. Smell, color, taste. Whether it's sent from the sky, such as rain, snow, or hail, water, running water, such as the water of rivers, springs, wells, and seas, or distilled water. Can we use, is going to mention that, right? Can you use the water of sea to make wudu? Yes. Right? What is the evidence for that? The Prophet ﷺ spoke about the sea, and he said, هو الطهور ماؤه الحل ميتته. Its water is so pure, and its dead animal is halal. Huh? You don't have to slaughter. It's halal, right? Fish. So this is the proper kind of water to be used for removing ritual or physical impurity. But now he speaks about what? He speaks about removal what? The ritual impurity. He still didn't speak about removal the impurities itself. We said two things. Don't be distracted. He mentioned two things now, right? First is to remove the ritual impurity. Means to make yourself able to pray, eligible to pray, right? To make ibadat, to pray, to make tawaf, right? The second is to remove the impurities itself. He said the first thing, which is being able to make ibadat, to pray, should be done by this water, which is free from any smell, any taste, any different smell, any different taste, any different color, right? To make ibadat. But he said now, however, it is indisputable that if the characteristics of such water change due to an impure material, it's impermissible to use it. Even if it's, as I mentioned, even if it's like tea is pure too, right? But its characteristics has been changed, so you cannot use it, right? For purification. Yet, if it's just a slight change and it's caused by a pure material, it's permissible to be used as a purifier. He said, but if it's like, only small, like different color, but it's not too much different, you can use it still, no problem. Or like, very few things have been dropped in the water, but it didn't change its color, didn't change its taste, okay, so much, so you can use it still. What is the condition here? If you still say it water. If you say water and tea has been dropped in this water, you have a big pot and you fill it with water, and then small, like one bag of tea has been dropped in this water. You call it tea or you call it water? If you still call it water, so it's okay, you can use it. But if you call it tea, it became tea already, so you cannot use it, right? So, and then he said, according to the preponderance of the two opinions maintained by scholars in this regard, right? He said, Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah states, there are many cases in which the characteristics of little or much water are affected by pure objects, such as, postage. This is some kind of material they used to use it before, or soap, or tree leaves, or dust, or dough, or such like things that may change water. For example, water might be put in a pot containing traces of lot tree leaves that would affect its characteristics. Though the water would not be completely changed in this case, scholars hold two well-known opinions regarding such cases. So he said there are two opinions now, right? About if the water is not changed completely by a pure object. But he here mentioned the sound one of them, right? Which is the water is still pure. Why? Because there is a hadith that the Prophet ﷺ, he made wudu from a pot that was having a trace of dough. Having what? Trace of dough, right? So the dough that they used to cook, and it was like a big pot, has still traces of this dough, wasn't clean completely, and it had water on it. The Prophet used this water to make wudu. So they said if it's like very small things, very little, stuff which is not affecting on the characteristic of water, so it's okay. You can use still this water, right? Then he mentions these two opinions with the arguments they are based on. He supports the opinion maintaining that it's permissible to use such water for purification, right? And he's saying what? In fact, this is the sound opinion, which is what? Which is what? What is the sound opinion that he referring to?
It's the general opinion of the scholars.
Which is what?
To use it.
To use what?
The water, if the characteristic change, but just a little bit, you can still use it.
Yeah, characteristics is not completely changed, right? Huh? But it has kind of, little, object which didn't change its characteristics, right? Like we said, though, leaves, some kind of leaves, right? Nowadays, tea, but it's not like you have like a big pot and some like one bag of tea has been dropped. It's like water. You cannot say you come to drink tea. It's water, right? He said it's okay. Why the other opinion said no, but he here supported the one which says it's okay, and he mentioned why here. He said here, in fact, this is a sound opinion. For Allah says, but if you are ill or on a journey, or one of you comes from the place of relieving himself, or you have contacted women and don't find water, then seek clean earth and wipe over your faces and hands with it. He said water here is an indefinite noun in a negative phrase, which in Arabic implies that water in the above mentioned verse includes everything referred to as water in general, with no distinction between different kinds of water. So Allah didn't say anything else. Allah said water, right? So if it's water, you use water, doesn't matter this water has been changed a little bit or not. Again, what is the condition? You still name it water. So if you still name it water, right? It's okay, you can use it. You can still use it to make wudu and to make ghusl. So that's to say Allah has made clean earth the substitute for water as a purifier in case water is unavailable or one is unable to use it. The way clean earth is used for purification has been pointed out by the Prophet ﷺ through the Sunnah, which will be dealt with Allah inshallah in a special chapter. So decreeing such a substitute for water is a kind of divine mercy and a way by which Allah makes things easier for His servants. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and if you are ill or on a journey, or one of you comes from the place of relieving himself, or you have contacted women and find no water, then seek clean earth and wipe over your faces and your hands with it. Indeed, Allah is ever pardoning and forgiving. Look, this is what we have mentioned, that the tayammum can be substitute for what? For ghusl too. Right? For ghusl. The verse in Surah An-Nisa, verse number 43. And then he says here, Ibn Hubayra states, Muslim scholars uniformly, means unanimously agree that purification with water is obligatory for whoever is obliged to perform salah, provided water is available. In case water is unavailable, one should use its substitute, which is clean earth, in accordance with the Quranic verse in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and find no water, then seek clean earth and send down upon you from the sky rain by which to purify you. So this showed the greatness of Islam, the religion of purity, and both physical and spiritual cleanliness. It also showed the loftiness of prayer, which one cannot enter upon without being in two states of purity. Into what? States of purity, right? The first is the spiritual purity from polytheism, shirk. Nobody can pray without being a Muslim, right? By means of testifying the oneness of Allah and worshipping Him sincerely and devoutly. And the second is the physical purity from ritual and tangible impurities, which is performed by means of water or its legal substitutes. We should also know that provided water is still in its original state, mixed with nothing else, it's deemed pure, as scholars uniformly agree. They also agree that if any of its three basic characteristics, odor, which is smell, taste, and color change due to any impure object, then water is deemed impure, and it's impermissible to use it as a means of purification, right? Yet some scholars differ regarding the purity of water when any of its characteristics has changed due to a pure object, such as tree leaves, soap, like water with soap, because it's very a popular situation. Like you have water, and then kind of soap has been dropped in it. Can you use this water or no?
Yes.
Can you use it?
As long as we're calling it water.
Yes.
Exactly, yes. Look, mashallah, now you get this understand. As long as you call it water, you don't call it water with soap. You don't say no, you say well, still water. Like you have a big pot of water, and then like drops of soap have been dropped in it. Still you call it soap or you call it water? But if you, right? So you call it water, so you use it for wudu, right? Can use it. But if it became soap, can you use it? No. Okay. So now he said, in fact, the sound opinion is that the resulting water is still deemed pure, and it's impermissible and it's permissible to use it as a means of purification from both ritual and tangible impurity. He said, due to the above, we can state that water is divided into. Now he's going to mention what we have mentioned in brief, right? He said now water has two categories, right? Pure water, which can be used as a purifier, whether it's in its original state or mixed with a pure object, provided it's not prevalent enough to change the composition of water or turn it into another object. The first kind of water, a pure water, has two types. Pure, which is not mixed with anything else, or pure but is mixed with something but doesn't affect on one of its three characteristics: odor, smell, taste, and color. Right?
Unless it's impure material.
Now he's going to mention the second one.
Yeah.
He said impure water, which cannot be used for purification from either ritual or tangible impurity. It's also the water, any of those characteristics, odor, taste, or color, has a change due to an impure object. If it's like an impure object, now we cannot use it.
But if it is pure object, then we can use it.
If it's pure object, provided what?
No change in color.
Yes, like soap, like tea, like some juice, right? But still, you don't call it juice, you call it water, so you can use it still, right?
What if there is a drop of urine or something bad?
Huh? Now this is impure. Huh? Unless you are in a sea now. Huh? Sea. And maybe some kids be on this sea. They said no, the water is too much. Right? So these kind of impurity is not going to be even changing anything. Huh? So this is also something we have to put in mind. River, right? You might see some kind of impurities over there. It says river. So there's another hadith. The Prophet ﷺ, you can write down this hadith. The Prophet ﷺ, he was asked about a well at Medina. It was a well at Medina, right? And this well spring, they used to throw in this well the impurities, the blood, right? Of women or any impurities, they used to throw it in, right? So they asked the Prophet about this well. He said, إذا بلغ الماء القلتين لا يحمل الخبث. If the water is too much, so the khabath, the impurities, is not going to affect on it, right? If the water too much water, right? So these impurities are not going to affect on it, okay? Like we said, the river, spring, sea, lake, right? Is not going to affect on that, right? So now, one more thing is left, which is, if you want to remove something which is impure from your body, can you use something else? This is actually a very important point. Can you use We said impurities has two kinds. With someone which is a spiritual impurity, right? Like someone, we said someone, he passed away after he made wudu, right? He is pure, but he is not pure spiritually. He cannot pray, right? So he has to use this kind of water that we mentioned, right? But someone, he has kind of impurity in his body, like urine, stool, anything in his body. How can he, what is the kind of water that he has to use or he can use to purify that? Of course, water, right? Which has two types. Or they say also anything will be removing the impurity will be okay. Like now tissues. Can you use tissue to remove the impurity from your body? There is no water, right? Or if there is even water. Even if there is water and there is tissues, can you use tissue, right? To napkins or tissue, whatever, anything, can you use it? They said, of course, yes, you can use. You can use. Can you use tea? Now tea, to remove, not to make wudu, not to make ghusl, no. To remove the impurities. Now you have tea, you don't have water. You have tea, right? Tea, and you have something on your clothes or on your body, you want to remove it. You want to clean your body, you want to clean your clothes from this impurity. Can you use this, like tea, to remove it?
Yes.
There are two opinions. The sound one of them, which is, according to the evidences, yes, you can use it. They say, and this is, by the way, this is Abu Hanifa what he said, and Ibn Taymiyyah also said that. Hanifa said, yes, you can use it. Anything, so what is the condition? Anything which is going to remove the object of impurities and its smell. You have blood on your clothes. Blood is pure or impure? Impure, right? You don't have water. Can you use anything at your home? Like you have tea, you drink it, can you use it, for example? I'm going to just juice, anything, right? Water with soap. This is what soap. Like soap. Can you use soap? Soap only. You don't have what? Soap to use to remove the impurity? Yes, we can. But can you use soap to make wudu? No. Right? There's a difference between removing the tangible impurities and making yourself pure to pray. Right? We need just 2-3 minutes to finish this. He said, disbelievers, pots, and clothes. He said the pots, it's very important to know this also, pots could be made of iron, wood, leather, or the like. The original ruling is the permissibility of using such pots. That's to say, it's permissible to use every pure pot except two types. Okay, now he said, in general, every utensil, every container, every pot is permissible to use it, whether it's for the believers or disbelievers, right? Except what? Two types. First of them, pots made of gold and silver. Pots, like container, like utensil, okay, made of gold and silver. And the pots having anything related to gold or silver, such as being inlaid or plated with gold or silver, or anything of the kind that makes pots connected with them. The exceptional case here is the pots inlaid with little silver for the sake of repairing them. The legal proof of the prohibition of using gold and silver pots is the following hadith related by the group of compilers of hadith. Hadith says what? قال صلى الله عليه وسلم, don't drink in gold or silver vessels, nor eat in similar bowls. These bowls made of gold or silver, for they belong to them, these believers, in this world, and to us in the hereafter. You got it? So he said this gold and silver is not for us here in this life, it is for us where? In Jannah, inshallah. In Jannah. But in this, it doesn't belong to us. Another hadith, the Prophet says what? He who drinks in silver vessels is only filling his abdomen with hellfire. Also authentic hadith. Anyone drinks in vessels made of silver, as if he does what? He fills his belly, his stomach, his abdomen with hellfire. So it's haram totally to use any parts made of silver or gold. So when something is legally prohibited to use, the prohibition is applicable whether the thing is used partially or totally. Therefore, it is prohibited to use pots inlaid or plated with gold or silver, or containing anything related to those two materials, excluding, now one exception. What is the exception? That you can use silver only. Excluding the case of a pot inlaid with a little silver, but why? Which is permissible as mentioned above. This is illustrated in the hadith related by Bukhari rahimahullah, by Anas ibn Malik radiyallahu anhu, who said, what is the point of it? He said, the cup of Allah's Messenger sallam got broken. The cup got broken, and he fixed it with a silver wire at the place of the crack. That's it. This is the only exception. If you have like a pot, you wanna, of course it doesn't happen right now, but if you have something like that, you wanna fix it with only very small wire of silver, you can use it to repair something. Right? This is the only exception. Otherwise, anything else will be haram. What did Nawawi said, rahimahullah, said Muslim scholars unanimously agree that it is prohibited to eat or drink in such pots, or even to use them, underline this word, or even to use them in purposes related to eating or drinking. Right? He said the prohibition of using or keeping golden or silver objects applies to both males and females. So the question, can a woman eat in a golden pot? No. Right? She cannot use it, right? At all. Also like male. He said, as the adequacy of this prohibition is generalized, means the prohibition applies to both sexes, male and female. There is nothing specified for a certain sex in this concern, except for the permissibility for women to make use of both silver and gold for purposes of what? Adornment for their husbands. That's it. So for women, they can use silver and gold for what? For which purpose? Adornment, jewelry, right? He said, on the other hand, it's permissible to use the utensils of disbelievers. It is permissible to use it, unless one knows that they are impure. In this case, one can use them only after washing them. Okay, let's move to the last point here of this course. He said the hides of dead animals. Now we spoke about gold and silver. Alhamdulillah, it's clear now. And the disbelievers' pot. Can you use it or not? You can, unless you know for sure. But what is the general ruling? You can use it then. But if someone tells you, oh, it's not pure, now you have to wash it, right? Why also? Because they said the companion, they used to do that. And the Prophet he used to go and eat, right? When he was invited by the Jewish woman, right? So very important. He went and eat, he didn't ask, right? He didn't ask if it was it clean or not, right? So don't ask, right? The last point today is the hides of dead animals. You know what are the hides? The skin. The hide of dead animals. He said it's prohibited to use them unless they are tanned. Unless they are what? Tanned. You have a dead animal now, and you want to use its hide, its skin, to make it leather. To make it what? Leather. Can you use them? No. You cannot. Unless you tan it. You tan it. You know tanning? To make tanning? To use kind of tanning. To use kind of, to make it, to convert it to leather. So you cannot use it unless you convert it to leather. By soaking this actually tanning in a material substance, right? They keep it. Sometimes they use sun to make it. Sometimes they use salt to make it, right? So they have to convert it to leather first, right? This is a condition. Since yet scholars differ regarding whether it's permissible to use them after tanning or not. So still there is a difference among the scholars even after you tan them, some scholars said still not pure. You cannot use them. But then the sound opinion, which is maintained by the majority of the scholars, is that it's permissible to use the hides of dead animals after tanning. Why? He said due to the many authentic hadith indicating that this is because their impurity is temporary, so it's removed by tanning. The Prophet ﷺ said, this is a hadith, that the hides of dead animals, he said, are purified by water and cars. Cars means leaves of kind of tree which is used for tanning. So he said what? The hides would be purified by what? By water and tanning, right? He said Sallallahu also, tanning is the purifying means for hides. Authentic hadith now, right? Tanning is the purifying means for hides.
So first tan the hides with water.
And cars. Cars, which is a substance, they used to use it. Any kind of substances now, you can use it too, but to do what? To convert it to leather, right? And this hadith says tanning is the purifying means for hides. It said, as for the clothes of disbeliever, last point. What about the clothes of disbelievers? Is it permissible to wear them? He said it's permissible to wear them unless they are known to be impure. This is because the original ruling on their clothes is that they are pure, and they cannot be deemed impure out of mere suspicion. Likewise, it's permissible to use whatever is weaved or dyed by disbelievers. You have to ask. For the Prophet ﷺ and his companions used to wear clothes weaved and dyed by disbelievers, and this is the end of this class tonight. So now the last point is what? The clothes of the disbelievers, you can use them unless you are sure that they are not pure, right? So in general, we spoke about purification. It's about water, kind of the type of water, right? If it's pure or it's like pure, which is still water. Its characteristics have not been changed, right? Which is the odor, the smell, the taste, right? So you can still use them, right? And the other kind of water which is impure, right? Of course you cannot use them. We said to remove the impurities, do you need water only, or you can use anything else? Anything else. To remove what? The impurity, not to make wudu, not to make ghusl, right? And we spoke about what else? We spoke about the tayammum. We're going to come to this point inshallah in brief. Tayammum can be substitute for ghusl too, right? For ghusl, if you are not able to use the water, and he said, and about the pots, it's haram to use gold and silver, right? It's haram to eat in them, and it's haram to use them. And now he said, all the kind of using is like eating and drinking. All like you cannot put, like for example, like some people they put some kind of golden thing in their life or silver as adornment. Can they do that? No. Anything else would be like eating and drinking, right? You cannot use silver and gold at all. The only exception for silver is what? To repair something has been broken. You can only use very thin wire of silver to repair the crack. But for women, gold and silver are haram, except only for women. They are okay for. So silver is halal for men?
Yes.
Who said that? Okay. We said silver is only halal for men if it's only ring. You cannot wear necklace, you cannot wear bracelets, you cannot wear even if it's silver. Only you can, what's permissible? Only the ring, right? You can't wear anything else. You cannot use silver to eat and drink, and no, only for ring, only this is an exception for the
What about gold plate?
gold plate. If it's like This he said here, if it's gold plated, no. You can use also gold plated, right? But sometimes it's only golden color. It's not gold. It's golden color, like golden color. But this is not gold.
Watch is gold color or something.
Yeah, but they said if it's like if it's like being if you were to remove it from the pot and make something, so it's haram. But if it's like something which is not even mentioned, right? So it's like color. Yeah.
Some plates, crockery, they have a platinum on the edges just for adornment. Platinum is not considered.
No, platinum is not